Okay, Sean here with another quick hit. I'm talking about the brother son today and something unique that I noticed that I really don't know how to talk about or how to articulate, so I'm going to try. They do something at a fundamental level that is pretty darn cool. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is in our, us as writers, as filmmakers, television makers, theater makers, we tend to reflect our culture, and there are values within our culture that we tend to reflect that we often don't think about. So for decades, centuries, and millennia, depending on which art form you're looking at, one of the things that we've been reflecting that's inherent in our culture is a bit of our misogyny. It's a bit of our tending to look at men in a certain way and women in an objectified way, both of them potentially objectified as how we're doing it, and we reinforce those stereotypes. So of course there's been a movement, and for those who are aware of that, we try to say, okay, well now what can I do to make this less objectified? What can I do to be actively thinking about, okay, I'm doing this, let me do something different. I find this in my own writing. I'll have women making suggestions to me going, do you need to write her that way? Does she need to be presented that way? Does she need to be introduced that way? When we introduce a female character, do we have to start with her foot and show her body before we show her face? Is there things that we can make these corrections on? And I think we're making those corrections. I think we're in a much better place. Go back and watch something from the 90s if you don't think that we're getting better at it. But I didn't find that in this series about the brother's son. It's about two men in a very masculine-dominated society. But there was something weird going on as I'm watching it, as I'm realizing we're not getting the same kind of treatment that we normally get. And there are many very strong female characters. Michelle Yeoh, one of the most beautiful spirits in film, is one of our leads. So it's not about necessarily even the strength of the characters, but it's how the women are treated and talked about. And I realized it finally in one episode where they were talking about how there are three different women in this one location, and they're three very different in the way that they look. They're very different in their body types. They're very different in the way they carry themselves. And one of the comments that's being made to get, another woman kind of jealous is they're saying, oh yeah, there are three women. They're all very beautiful in their own different way. And I was like, oh yeah, I have not heard in this series anybody talk about women based on their appearance in a negative light. There is one time where a woman is made fun of by the aunties because the suit she's wearing destroys her beautiful face. It's like her face is too beautiful to be wearing the clothes that she's wearing. And this is true throughout the whole thing, is that they never talk about women as being, this one's more attractive than that one. There's never this comparison thing based just on looks. And there's never this thing of, there's never that funny joke of, oh my goodness, he got with the ugly one when I got with the pretty one kind of a thing, right? How did they do that? Well, I realized the secret to how they did that is, instead of writing a series and then saying, how are we going to correct the way that we're thinking, they started with a very simple premise. My opinion. I don't know if this is actually true, but writers, you can tell me if I'm wrong. A very simple premise. Every woman, and this includes every man as well, but I'm going to focus on the women, every woman made in God's image is beautiful. Start there. And if you start there, then you're not correcting as you go. You're writing from a point of view that sees people the way God sees them and not the way that we have always kind of just talked about things. All right, don't know if I got this across, but hopefully I did. One of the ways that we can correct the way that we represent people in our scripts is to start from the premise that everyone made in God's image is beautiful. Every person, and that every person is made in God's image. If we have those two things at the start, we will find ourselves less and less having to go, oh yeah, I wrote that stereotype. How do I break myself from that? All right, that's just my thoughts here. We'll see if it makes sense to you. This has been Sean with another quick hit.